My name is Abbie. I'm deeply passionate about all things wild and have made it my mission to document many of the world's most stunning trails, be that through day hikes or multi-day long distance walking.
Each route is totally unique. Some traverse exposed moorlands and rugged mountaintops, others pass through bustling market towns and historical cities. They follow world-renowned archaeological discoveries and travel through some of the most tranquil valleys and mystical forests accessible on foot. It's not surprising then that they attract walkers from all over the world, many seeking a challenge, others looking to break free from the monotony of everyday life and be inspired by nature. My reason for hiking though is one of discovery and awareness. Getting outside is now more important than ever before, with obesity rates maintaining record highs and mental health issues affecting over 1 in 4 individuals. There are incredible landscapes all around us, but so few of us dare to venture in such seemingly inhospitable lands for fear of failure or becoming lost. Well, I'm here to show you otherwise and inspire you to don your walking boots and spend more time in the wild for the benefit of mental and physical health. I've realised that sometimes you don't have to do something crazy or radical to change how you feel about your life. You just have to walk. I face my own trials with mental ill health, as no doubt you'll see throughout my travels, but alongside building a strong support network, getting outside and taking the time to reconnect with nature has helped me move further along the road of personal discovery. So, here's me inviting you to join me on my adventures as I explore this beautiful planet. There will be challenges along the way, and we're not guaranteed to succeed, but it takes a brave heart and a courageous soul to commit to the unknown. Now all you have to do is decide that you want it more than you are afraid of it. Are you ready? Let's go.
We have arrived in Glasgow. This is the beginning of our next adventure. Today, what we're doing is heading to the start of the West Highland Way, right through the Scottish Highlands. We've left behind some pretty trashy weather in Bristol and arrived in sunshine, but I've seen the forecast and I'm not expecting it to last. Nevertheless, my first task is to find some gas. I obviously couldn't fly with camping gas, and so now all I need to do is get into the city centre and find an outdoor shop. Morning.
Good morning.
Just that on there. Thank you. Cheers then.
Thank you.
Enjoy the rest of your day.
Bye.
Killamont Street. Here we are. We're in central Glasgow, and what I'm looking for now is a mountain warehouse store. There are so many people. No words. We're in survival mode, folks. We are at Milngavie. This is an outer suburb of Glasgow City, and it's here that the West Highland Way officially begins. My 96-mile journey through the Scottish Highlands, and the best place for me to begin is at the obelisk, which I've just got to find. I can see a West Highland Way sign there, the first of many, I'm sure. This is where it all begins. West Highland Way, this way. And here we are, the official start of the West Highland Way. This is the Scottish thistle that I'll be following for the entirety of my journey, all the way through the mountains and the moorlands and along the loch sides of the entire route. Now, I actually walked this route in 2012 with my mum. It was the first trail I'd ever walked. We did actually B&B it, but I'm so excited to retrace my steps, to see what I can remember and just to enjoy the journey through the best scenery that Scotland has to offer. Now, my official trail goes that way, and I'm just going to wander around Milngavie for a little bit, just soak up the atmosphere, wave goodbye to civilization, and then head out into the unknown. Let's do this.
The West Highland Way was Scotland's first official long-distance route, opening in 1980, and is now designated by the Scottish National Heritage as one of Scotland's great trails, walked by over 36,000 individuals each year.
Alrighty, I've had a look around the kind of middle part of Milngavie. I've fueled myself with a coffee and I've emerged from the cafe to find it just trying to rain now, so rather than waste loads of time stopping and starting, I've just put my waterproof coat on and I've got my waterproof cover on my bag, and now what I'm going to do is just try and pick up some West Highland Way signs and begin the walk basically. It's kind of funny because there's a lot of people around with backpacks, but I'm really keen to certainly start on my own. I know that the West Highland Way is a very popular trail, but I like to use the first day to kind of get in the mindset, find my pace and just adapt to the trail. Obviously it's a very different speed to normal day-to-day life, which is go, go, go. And today what I'm doing then is I'm walking about 10 miles, so it's about 11:15 in the morning. I've been up since 3:30. And we're walking to just south of Drymen or Drymen, and that's it for today. So here we go. Welcome to the start of your journey. As you walk the West Highland Way, look out for these people from the past. They too travelled parts of this route for many different reasons and have a tale to tell. We hope you enjoy your visit and that your walk is a pleasant one. Thank you very much. Kind of shows some of the key sites en route and famous people that have used sections of the trail. Now, the guidebook I'm using for my trip is this Trailblazer travel guide. I've also got a Harvey's map as well, but to be fair, you know, I've done this trail before and I remember it being extremely well signposted. Now, we saw the Scottish thistle on the beginning obelisk, and here's another one. So this is what I expect to be following, these kind of wooden markers with the thistle on, telling us which way to go. And this is just here as a backup really. I'm hoping to just enjoy actually being reasonably map free, obviously referring to this to make sure I know where I am. But and the other thing that's great about this actually is that it tells you about the places that you're walking through, about the points of interest, the opening and closing times of shops and campsites. So it's very helpful to have. Obviously it is an extra weight, but I'm hoping it's going to come in handy. But as I say, I do also want to spend a fair amount of time without a map, just enjoying the landscape and soaking up everything that Scotland has to offer.
The route passed into the Allanda Park, alongside the Allanda Water River, one of the main tributaries of the River Kelvin.
It's quite weird because we're walking through this park with all these beautiful beech and oak and silver birch trees, and you feel like you're kind of out there already, but actually all around is the sound of industrial works and building, and you can smell the, I don't know, metal or whatever it is. It's kind of just such a contrast. Check this out. Now, I'm one for finding wild foods, and bilberries are one of my all-time favourites. It's a little late in the season, but I have spotted one single berry. That's a lie. Now that I've got closer, I have spotted 3 mushy berries. Here's 2 of them. So bilberries are basically like wild blueberries. They're incredibly sweet, wonderful, wonderful, and they grow on these low-lying shrubs, quite distinctive actually, and very common to find all over Scotland, the Lake District. Get them up in the Peak District, even get them near us in the Corntock Hills AONB. So they're all over the place. They grow in this kind of scrubland, ancient woodland up on the moors, and they're always great fun to stumble upon. But warning, they do slow your progress.
The park was a lovely place to walk, and obviously well treasured by the locals. There were birds of all kinds singing in the trees, and wildflowers dancing along the edge of the trail. It was hard to not be inspired.
At the moment then, what we're doing is working our way through this forest to the Creggan Loch. Now, this is the point where I have a little disclaimer, just noting I'm probably not going to pronounce stuff right on this walk, but I'll do my best and I'll ask people where I can, because names are important, and actually often the names of a place can tell us a little bit about the history, how it was used, or yeah, the people that live there. I know very little about the Creggan Loch, so we'll see what it's like when we get there. I think I vaguely remember walking alongside it before, so we'll see if those memories come back with a bit more clarity in a bit. You know, finally the industrial noise has been left behind and we're out into this kind of meadowland with these coniferous trees beside us. You know, it really does feel like Scotland. Here we are then, this is the Creggan Loch. You can see the mountains looming above us just over there in the background, and the forest all around. If only it was sunny, but you know, it's quite atmospheric, and I feel like the clouds and the mountains are welcoming me to the Highlands, so it's alright actually. I could not be happier right now. This is just a little slice of heaven. Oh, I nearly walked right past this one. Check out this memorial. This is the Creggan Fire Memorial, and basically what it is, or what it was, this area here was a meeting spot in the 1920s and 30s during the Great Depression, where poorer people from the lower classes and travellers would come and they'd sit around a fire here that would be burning, always burning, and they'd just share stories and talk about things and ideas, and it was a real kind of social spot. And now there's this kind of rock fireplace here in memory or remembrance of these people, many of which went on to fight in the Civil War. It's just tucked away here in this grove of trees. It's quite special.
The obvious, yet really peaceful path took me past a number of secluded chalets that looked to be wonderful places to stay, which looked over the smaller Carbeth Loch.
Hey look, Fort William, 92 miles. We're nearly there!
A quick stretch along a quiet road offered further views across to the little loch, before I turned north along a level path into open grassland.
Okay, I'm aware I'm talking a lot today, but can I just say wow? Like, we're on day one, we're barely 5 miles into the trail, and this is the scenery. I mean, wow. There's nothing else much to say. I really want to showcase the beauty of this trail, but not just that, I want to really highlight how accessible it is. This is many people's first long distance route, 96 miles. It's really achievable in 6 or 7 days, a bit longer if you want. You know, it's not crazy challenging in terms of terrain, and it's just absolutely stunning. The rewards you get for the effort you put in, you just can't go wrong. And I'm really hoping that through this video, I can encourage you to don your own walking boots and head out here and check it out for yourself.
Towering above me were a range of volcanic hills, known as the Campsie Fells, and just ahead was the wooded Domgoyach Hill, famous for the short line of standing stones that remain nearby, thought to be the facade of a chambered tomb dating back to the Neolithic period. As the rain came in, I made steady progress along the disused Blaine Valley Railway, which, between 1882 and 1951, carried passengers from Aberfoyle to Glasgow.
At the moment then, we're just working with intermittent heavy showers. It like pours down and then the sun's like, yeah, I'm gonna shine for like 2 seconds, and then the rain's like, oh no you're not, and then lashes it down. And then the sun's like, yeah, but I like these people, man. So it shines for like 2 seconds, and then the rain's like, no you don't. So it's very intermittent at the moment, but I think it is going to get more set in. But it does mean these heavy showers saturate everything, including the ground. But there's this beautiful patch of blue sky ahead of us that's looking very appealing. So let's just keep heading that way.
The Beech Tree Inn is the first real stop available on the trail. You can stop outside using their picnic area next to the Shetland ponies and their West Highland Way information board, or you can head inside and devour one of their famous deep-fried Mars bars.
Even though we're pretty much just walking in a straight line on this really flat terrain, it's lovely because the verges are alive with wildflowers at this time of year. I mean, you've got rosebay willow herb here. I've seen some wild orchids. I've seen birdsfoot trefoil. I've seen the rowan trees and the oak and the silver birch. I mean, when you know what to look for, there is so much to see. And I mean, these shades of pink and purple they bring the landscape to life, even in the dull and darkness that the rain brings. I mean, look at this. It's stunning.
It wasn't long before another wall of wet arrived, but it couldn't dampen my spirits, which soared as I walked along the roaring Edric Water, which apparently is a great place to watch salmon in the autumn. The trail also passed by a millennium post just to the side of the road.
The sun's come out and we're on this road which we follow all the way to Drymen, and I've met up with Ron and Cecilia here, and we're just like lapping up the rays. So these guys are from New Mexico, right?
Yes,
Right.
we are.
Yeah, and they're on the West Highland Way. 10 days of hiking. Enjoying it so far?
Oh,
Loving
absolutely.
it.
Yeah.
Loving it.
Nothing like hiking.
That's it. But obviously they got some pretty epic trails near them, so we've been walking, and I'm feeling inspired to head out west, I think. But yeah, it's good that the sun's come out anyway. Welcome to Drymen camping. Oh man, that's me. Oh well, cheers guys. Take care.
You have a wonderful
Yeah,
day.
thanks man. Enjoy your
Hopefully
journey.
we'll
I might see you tomorrow. I got 2 miles to catch you up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're moving.
Yeah, that's it. Bye guys. So yeah, this is Drymen camping. Kind of stumbled upon that. I don't really feel ready to stop, but it is nearly 4 o'clock. And I guess since we've been up since 3:30, probably ought to rest. I tell you what though, I love lovely people. Ron and Cecilia, man, they're cool.
Although a little busy, the campsite was blissfully basic, and I pitched up feeling overjoyed at the first day of walking. I fell peacefully asleep to the sound of heavy rain, snug in my sleeping bag. Life sure was good on the trail.
Good morning and welcome to day 2 on the West Highland Way. It's pretty overcast today. The cloud base is reasonably low, but I kind of caught some glimpses of the dawn through my tent and the hedge, which was nice. And in that sentence I'm inferring I got a lot less sleep than perhaps I need. But it's just before 7 o'clock and I'm on the trail, so I'm making my way to Drymen, which is about 1.5 miles away from where I was staying. And yeah, I'm looking forward to today. We've got about 20 miles ahead of us. It's really nice to be out early. I'm kind of feeling a bit overwhelmed at the number of people on the trail. It's very busy, lots and lots of hikers and backpackers, which is good because it means I get to meet people. But part of why I come onto the trail is to think and get creative in my mind, and also to sort of push myself as well. But we'll see who we meet today, and the goal really, there is a known destination. It's Rowchoish, Bothy, hopefully I said that okay, on the shores of Lochleven. It's like our very own West Highland Way crossing. Look, West Highland Way bollards with the Scottish thistle on them. That is quite funny. Also, they're not wood, they're plastic. Never mind. They tried, right? There's an honesty box. So basically the way these work is it's just someone who's really nice, clearly a walker. They leave an honesty box, you put the money in the box, and then each box has different kinds of stuff. This one's got lots of water because obviously they've had a lot of warm weather. But yeah, it's cool. Really nice people. Thank you. West Highland Way. What we're doing at the moment then is working our way up to the forest track that will lead us up to Connick Hill, which is 361 metres above sea level, and from there we should get pretty epic views over Loch Lomond, so I'm stoked for that. We've got quite a few miles yet to get there, but it's just a nice gentle incline at the moment. I'm aware it's going to get more steep, so just pacing it out, finding my flow for today. And you know, it's such a still morning, it's lovely. There's been blackberries and raspberries along the side of the trail that I've been utilising to get some vitamin C, and just been doing a bit of flower ID as well, so I'm certainly not rushing this, just warming up and seeing myself into a couple of miles nice and easy.
The wide track climbed gently through what remains of the Garaband forest, much of which had been clear-felled. Those who seek to wild camp the entire trail often find a shaded spot here, and I passed by a number of tents pitched just off the trail.
On a raspberry, happy days. And another one. Happy days. And another one. Life is good.
After crossing over the Rowchoish Way, another local long-distance trail, I rounded the corner to my first views over Loch Lomond, the second largest lake in Great Britain after Loch Ness by water volume. It was a breathtaking sight, and I could see the line of islands that marked the Highland boundary fault, a massive geological fracture separating the lowlands from the highlands.
It's such a dramatic landscape, honestly. It's really amazing to watch the weather unfold here. All the way along though, we've got this ling heather, so the flower grows all the way up the stalk. It's beautiful how it's just come out, and it catches the light when it shows itself and just brings the place to life. We've got this track here, and oh my gosh, it's a hare. Oh, it's quite far away, but it's heading up the trail. Look at him. That, I've never seen a hare before. It's a mountain hare, surely. Wow.
Crossing over the Burn of Mar, I finally began the 170-metre ascent around Connick Hill, the first real climb of the trail. It took me up into the cloud, although I never felt alone, since there were very friendly sheep everywhere I looked.
You can see the paths made out of these big boulders. They're designed to help reduce erosion by coping with the heavy footfall. Often popular places like this on routes that see thousands, tens of thousands of people a year just get eroded away, so the rangers put in these big rocks that help to just protect the land from the number of people. Oh, this is a lovely climb. I'm pretty sure up there is the top of Connick Hill. I don't know how to get there yet. I think there's a split in the path, so we're here, we may as well venture up. It's already wild and windy. I don't see why not. My face is a bit numb. Come out of the wind for a bit. It's amazing the number of people who are still growing up. They just fancy a taste of Scotland, I guess. I can actually hear tree creepers, which are a cool little bird that scamper up and down trees. They're very hard to see. So I'll keep my eye open. And of course for dinosaurs, you just never know what's around here. I actually vaguely remember this. It's the National Park Centre, Lochs and the Trossachs. Sweet.
The national park became fully operational in 2002 and encompasses around 720 square miles. The centre itself was a really interesting place, crammed with stunning imagery and finds from around the park that left me feeling inspired to be heading out into such a wild land.
Golden eagle feather, now that's cool. Oh man, if you're on this trail, you've got to go in there and chat to the staff. They're lovely, really friendly, really knowledgeable. I just asked about the Bothy, what's the situation like there, and they said, yeah, great place to stay, just watch out for pine martins, you've got to lock your food up. So that's a new one on me. Anyway, let's head to the shop, get some supplies, and keep walking. It's very cold. I think I should carry one of these. They're great, I love it.
Though the rain had briefly passed, I treated myself to a warm brew at the cosy St Mocha Cafe. It was truly blissful to stop and dry out, though I worried I would never leave.
Eventually I pulled myself away from the warmth and we're now back outside. So we've got about 11-ish miles to go to the Bothy, but the first goal is to get to Rowchoish, which is about 7 miles away. But check this out, we're on Lochleven now.
By the water's front was a statue of Tom Weir, a local climber, author and broadcaster, and a pioneering campaigner for the protection of the Scottish environment. It felt like a really peaceful space, though I doubted with the busyness in the summer it would have quite the same atmosphere.
It's taking me a bit of time to get my head around the scale of Lochleven. The fact that it's taking the equivalent of a day to walk along, and just standing on that outpost there, kind of all the way around was the loch. You know, it's pretty big, so it's going to be nice to journey along it for a bit of time and just experience the loch for all it's got to offer. One of Scotland's great trails. I love the West Highland Way.
The trail was easy to follow, mostly under the trees, but occasionally out on the beaches of the loch. Along the edge of the path, there were plenty of fungi to keep me entertained, such as shaggy inkcaps and horseshoe fungi.
Seriously, despite the rain, this is some really lovely walking at the moment. It's quite undulating, but we're just walking through this birch forest. You've got bilberry and blackberry carpeting the floor, and there's been quite a few blue tits and great tits and long-tailed tits flying around. The only thing I'm not enjoying right now is there's a big group behind me. Very noisy. They're walking about the same pace as me, so we keep catching each other up, and I keep pushing on out front and then burning out because it's just too fast to maintain, and then they catch up, and I'm just feeling a bit pressured by myself because I'm not enjoying their loudness. The stillness of the forest is just beckoning to be absorbed, and I don't want to get caught up in a big group of daywalkers. So welcome to Cashel. It's a pretty cool place up there. It's actually a farm, but they've been working on this scheme to replant 3,000 hectares, I think it is, of native woodland here around Lochlomen, which I think is incredible actually. So they've been working on that scheme. You can volunteer to get involved, I'm pretty sure. But yeah, I think they should have like a billboard about it, to be honest. It's pretty incredible what they're doing.
It was actually 3,000 acres they were working to restore, planting many native trees such as oak, birch, Scots pine, aspen and more. You can sponsor their project online, or head out to explore their woodland trails if you're in the area.
Suddenly the rain doesn't matter. I have found bilberries, many bilberries. This will help my vitamin C intake, which is basically nil. We're just near Lochs now. Basically there's a car park, but there's also these numbered posts that I'm going past. That's number 6, number 5, number 4, and they're pitches. So you can pay to pitch on the shores of Lochlomen, like this guy has. You can have fires here too. I mean, it's a pretty cool place to camp, let's be real.
Wild camping isn't allowed along this area of the loch between March and October, in an attempt to help minimise the environmental impact of the millions of visitors each year. There are, however, plenty of designated campsites or permit areas solely for the use of camping, and you can book ahead to ensure you get a space.
Environmental research for a changing world. Oh, cool. University of Glasgow Field Station. Wow.
The field station was monitoring water temperature, air temperature, and other external environmental variables. I didn't stop for long to read all of the details, but it looked to be a fantastically interesting project to be involved in.
Here's a sign for Inverarnan Hotel. Quite a lot of people tend to stop off there, or at the youth hostel and bunkhouse, which is just a little bit further on along the trail. But there's a shelter, the Ben Nevis shelter, that I'm just gonna stop off at because I think I can get some water there. And then from the youth hostel, it's about an hour and a half to the Bothy, I believe.
Inverarnan is probably best known as the starting point for the main path up Ben Nevis, which sits at 974 metres above sea level. The hotel itself is a notable milestone along the way, which many a weary walker stops at for a drink and some hearty grub at the Clansman Bar. The area also sits within the 50,000-acre Queen Elizabeth Forest Park, one of 6 such parks in Scotland created in 1953, the year of the coronation of Elizabeth II.
I found the shelter. It's pretty cool actually. There's like toilets and it's dry. So I'm hoping to top up my water here before we head on.
Just on from the shelter was a stone war memorial, a compassionate reminder that since 1995, the area around Ben Nevis, including the summit, is a designated memorial park for those who gave their lives in the First and the Second World Wars.
We're at Ptarmigan Lodge. This is this point here. And just further up is a gate that signals the sort of end of the management zone, so in theory you can wild camp anywhere from then onwards, which is quite good. But of course we're aiming for the Bothy, and hopefully we'll get there sometime today. This is where the path splits. You can either carry on along the track or head down the trail. The trail's proper undulating, but it goes direct to the Bothy. I'm going to go this way. I've decided it's still undulating, but it's going to be easier underfoot and hopefully is a little bit quicker.
There were countless waterfalls of all intensities and velocities tumbling down from the fells above. Though I felt weary, their energy lifted my spirits over and over and kept me moving onwards. They weren't the only thing, though, that grabbed my attention.
They might be mountain goat droppings, and it might have slept there. Interesting. We're finally at the junction where the lower path joins us, so what I've got to do now is just backtrack. So hopefully I'm about 10 minutes away or so from the Bothy. That's the only disadvantage with me having come up here, is I've just got to go back on myself, and you know, I really don't know. This trail has been improved, so it could have been fine, but I mean those waterfalls were cool anyway, so that was fine. Let's get this done. We've made it. That was one tough day. Incredible day, but tough. Hopefully we can get a good night's sleep, and at least we don't have the putting up tent stuff now. So that's it. Day 2 on the West Highland Way. Done. Bring on tomorrow.
In 1759, there were actually 9 families living within the area, and the current day Bothy was once the byre. It was renovated, though, in 1965 and is now maintained by the Mountain Bothy Association, which oversees 102 bothies and 2 emergency shelters across Scotland, Wales and northern England. There were 14 of us staying in the Bothy that night. It sure was cosy, but at least we were dry.
This really is like a magical forest. The pine trees reaching towards the sky like hands almost, desperate for light, and then all around the floor's carpeted with moss. So then there we go, that introduces us to day 3. We're leaving the Bothy behind. That was an interesting night, not quite as restful as I would have hoped. We had a lot of mice about and they were trying to get into my stuff, so anyway, it's all good, it's all part of the adventure. The best thing about that was it was dry. We could hear the rain coming down all night, and I checked the forecast, and this morning is supposed to be a little bit better than this afternoon, so I thought, as always, we'll get started nice and early. I think everyone was like, oh, why's she getting up? But you know, I did wait half an hour actually, so I think that was very generous of me. And that is, you know, part of staying in a Bothy is we had some people arrive about midnight. I think they intended on like partying, but that wasn't going to happen, so anyway, right, we're on to day 3. Let's do this. I don't know how far it is today, but we're headed to Inverarnan, and there's a campsite there, so we'll be camping. Hopefully we can pitch up and stuff in the dry. Let's do this. Here we go. This is where we left the trail yesterday. So we came down that winding track. That just took forever. I was definitely feeling tired yesterday. Thankfully I'm feeling a little bit more refreshed, because that was on my limits of like, I need to stop now. So there we go, we're leaving that stretch, we're onto new territory. I cannot get enough of these waterfalls. But even better than that, I can see the other side of the loch. That's my first view of the other side of Lochleven. You can see the mountains above still covered in cloud, but nothing like yesterday.
The gravel path continually climbed and dipped across small streams, some of which could easily be stepped across, others needing a bridge that would sometimes be pretty slippy in the damp conditions. Sadly, when I passed by, the little shed-like structure called the Cherry Tree Cafe was closed, but I'd heard many great things about the place, which was built using wood sourced from further back up the loch.
How cool is this trail? It's just like a tiny little path up and down along the side of the loch, which is awesome. As you can see, I decided to brave just a t-shirt. Let's see if this pays off. I just thought whilst it's not raining, I wanted to make the most of it. And I've got my earphones in just as a little bit of distraction to help me keep my pace up this morning. I'm feeling a bit fatigued, whoa, as you can see, a bit fatigued. So it's just going to help me keep moving.
It was tough going, but immensely fun, winding around boulders and over tree roots. Little did I know, this was actually the easy stretch, but mostly I was just intrigued by the lochs hydroelectric scheme that I could see on the other side of the loch. Its construction, which started in 1945, took 4 years to complete, during which 21 men lost their lives, some of which were German prisoners of war. The site is actually on standby, but can reach its full capacity in just 5 minutes from a standing start. Next up was the Inverarnan Falls, which tumbled impressively into the loch below.
Wow. It's so nice here at Inverarnan. We've got the waterfall behind me drowning out my voice, which is definitely not a problem. And then in front of us you've got the mountains. It just makes me wish that yesterday was clearer. Obviously we missed so much in terms of the views. Never mind, at least we're getting some today.
The hotel was once a hunting lodge for the Duke of Montrose and is steeped in local history, from clan warfare to the clearances. Nowadays, though, it's usually crammed with coaches and sightseers hoping to hop on the small ferry to Ardluey.
We're leaving Inverarnan behind now. It's just a cool little place really, with lots of people on the waterfalls and the mountains. I like it. But what we're doing now is we've got another couple of hours alongside the loch. There's lots of wildflowers and there's a nice steady path at the moment, which is good. There's also the hydroelectric power station on the other side, which has been my marker so far this morning for how far we've travelled, so it's quite cool. But up next then we're heading towards Rob Roy's cave, so we'll check that one out. Rob Roy was morning guys, he's a famous figure in Scottish history. Born in 1671, he was the third son to a clan chieftain, and basically he became an outlaw and he was on the run for 10 years. So this cave is said to be one of the places that he hid away, and apparently there's a lot of graffiti outside saying cave. So we'll see what we can make of this site. We've got to get there first. It's not easy underfoot actually. There's a lot of roots and stones and stuff. You've got to kind of weave your way through them, choose the path of least resistance. Thankfully I'm kind of used to doing this kind of thing, but given the fact this is a lot of people's first trail, this stretch along Lochleven, it's definitely not easy. Oh, and whilst I'm just falling down the hillside, here's the sign for Rob Roy's cave. Let's go have a look. It's a little bit off path. I'm not sure what there is to see. We'll find out. Okay, is it really down there? I'm not sure. It's somewhere amidst this boulder field. Okay, you can just see the graffiti over there saying cave. I'm not really sure how to get there, and I'm not going to risk injury trying to. So that's Rob Roy's cave just up there. Yeah, that was fun. I think if I didn't have my pack and 60-70 miles to go, I would have gone on and scrambled to try and find that cave, because the last time we did the trail we didn't get there either, so I was feeling hopeful this time. I just have to keep stopping and taking in my surroundings every time I get a clearing like this. It means I get a little bit wet, but I can see down towards the end of the loch there with the islands, and then up here we got the mountains, and there's this epic waterfall coming down. And even though the cloud is coming in, I'm just in awe of this landscape and completely amazed that I'm able to be here. It's just, there really are no words to capture the vastness and almost inspiration that this landscape gives off. So it just draws you in, and you round one corner and it changes in its looks, and you round another and it changes again. It's really quite dynamic and diverse in the different views that it's giving off. I'm loving it. I'm really, as you can see, I'm stumbling over my words. I'm just speechless. It's really easy to see why these places are just crammed with myths and legends. I mean, we've got these trees growing out of this rock here, and then you see the most gnarly barks that are like knotted together and intertwined with different species of trees, rocks just standing still at the most awkward angles. It's an incredible place. Wow, that's a big one. Wow, look at that. That is amazing. Whew. Someone tell me how I'm supposed to get down here with this pack. What? Oh. Alright, we'll make this work somehow. I'm not sure how, that's all. No, I need to get my left leg, right leg there. Ooh. There we go. Oh. Whew. Survival of the fittest. Oh. There's a seriously frustrating weather. I feel like I've been giving one giant weather report so far on this trip, but I'm quite enjoying how the weather is right now. It's dry and there's a little bit of sunshine. I don't know if it's a calm before the storm. I'm not too worried right now because I've just come around the corner to this fantastic view towards the end of Lochloven. Got these ruins in the foreground, but it's the background that gets me. Those mountains, that is where we are going. That is just the most awe-inspiring view so far on the trail. Obviously we haven't had that many views, but this is what I imagine the West Highland Way to be like. Yes.
One of the old buildings was the Dune Bothy, a really cosy place that I vowed to head back to stay in someday.
Awesome. Fire pit, a couple of sleeping spaces either side, one over here. That's cool. This is a nice space. We've just gone past the turning which takes you down to the loch side, and the other side of the loch there's a place that we were looking at called Ardlui. Some people like to go there. There's a campsite with camping pods and things, laundry, but for the rest of us who aren't stopping there, we carry on, and as it turns out, we're climbing. There's a couple of mountain goats up there. My word, their horns are massive.
The goats were a real surprise to see, clearly very nimble on their feet and at home on the fell sides. They didn't seem at all bothered by me, so I stopped to enjoy my little window into their world before pressing onwards.
Wow. And there it is, one of the last views we're going to get over Lochleven, and probably one of the best we've had so far on this entire journey. Okay, goodbye Lochleven, hello Highlands, let's do this. Well, that was really quick. It looks like we're here, and I could not be happier, to be honest. What time is it? It is... Oh, my watch has died. I think it's about 3:30. So it's not exactly early, let's be honest. And I remember coming here with Mum when we did the trail before, and we stopped for some soup. That was the most reviving soup ever. But this is it. So this is my stop for the night. Day 3 in the bag.
I was staying at the Being Lass Farm campsite, right next to the Ben Glass burn. There was a shop, bar, restaurant and cabins, but I pitched up away from the crowds and fell asleep to the sound of the rain.
Good morning. It's been raining all night and it's still kind of raining now. Just had a look out. The cloud base is reasonably low, it's not too bad. But I'm just sort of slowly getting ready, trying to ease myself outside. We've got quite a bit of miles to do today. We've got about 19-20 miles to the bridge of Orchy. So it's going to be a solid walk, and I just really hope that this weather doesn't stay set in the whole time, because it's just going to be pretty miserable, let's be honest. So we'll see how we go, but at the moment I'm certainly not rushing outside, even though I probably should be really. Let's go. Day 4, rainy day.
The wide track made for easy walking alongside the river Falloch, into which drained many falls and tributaries.
I'm having a lot of camera trouble at the moment. This camera just forever steaming up, and then if I take it out it gets wet, and then if it gets wet there's that risk of dying. So I'm struggling to capture the beauty of this landscape. I mean, we got the clouds which are just kind of blanketing the mountains there. We got these pylons which I think are actually really quite curious. They just feel very out of place here. There's cows and sheep around as I'm walking through this like moorland meadow bit. It's really lovely, and it's great because all I'm doing is following this track, so I'm not having to navigate at all. There's no wind here, and I'm making friends. Hey, can I get through please? I'd really appreciate that. No? You're not fancying that? You shall not pass. Thank you very much, I appreciate it. Very kind, very kind. Have a good one. Help. Which way do I go? I feel like I need to try and jump that. There's a rock. Okay, you with me? 3, 2, 1. Ninja skills. I have a wet foot. That didn't go so well. I think it should be called the West Highland Way. Never mind the fact that it's west, everyone knows that. But not everyone knows that it's wet. Whoa, look at this waterfall! That's amazing! This is designed for sheep, not humans. Come on. That was fun. Underneath the railway. Here's the next one, under the A road. Look at this. Woo. I have far too much fun in tunnels.
Though the road was busy, the noise rarely travelled far enough to bother me, and I felt transported into a land trapped in time as I followed the 18th century military track.
Honesty box in the middle of nowhere. Look at that. That is crazy. Pretty happy with this. Let's have a look inside. Oh wow, that's a proper honesty box. Lucozade, cans of energy drink, you got crisps. Wow. Nice. Thanks very much whoever did that. Pretty awesome. It's basically one big problem solving game today of how to get as least wet as possible. Here we are, just coming into the Rowchoish forest through this deer-proof fence, and I'll show you, the sign quite helpfully points out, if we were oh, shucks. Hold that thought. There we go, right. Let's try again. If we were headed down into Kinlochleven, we'd go that way through the woods, and that's where we went before, that's where we stayed. So rather than staying at the campsite, we were B&Bing, so we went that way. So this sign looks new though. Welcome to Kinlochleven Crossroads, an excellent place to rest aching legs and restore your spirits. Might possibly see a red squirrel. We'll keep our eye open. But it looks to me like we're headed up there on towards Drymen. And what I might do is sit on that bench and sort myself out. We got this drizzle coming in, so we'll just make sure everything's covered up again before pressing on. It's quite fun, this stretch of trail actually. It's all going through coniferous plantations, and you get kind of open stretches like this where there's light coming in, but then you get the darker bits as well where the pines are closer together and they're covered in like hairy moss and reindeer antler moss that just seem to reach down and try and stop you from passing through. It's very atmospheric, and it could be a lonely place if you're not used to this kind of thing. But you know, the way I figure it, there's shadows about, so if there's shadows, there's got to be light, and light is always a good thing. Hi. Hi. Alright. I really can't wipe the smile off my face. Sure, sometimes it's dark and I've got wet feet and it rains and it gets cold, but this trail is blowing my mind. I don't feel like I've walked it at all. I can barely remember anything. So every corner is just full of discoveries, and I'm loving the fact that like Each pine needle's got a water droplet on that's reflecting the landscape. The waterfalls are unique. The leaves are just completely different. Red squirrel. I just want to scream for joy. How amazing was that? Mid-sentence, there's talking about how much I love this landscape, how incredible it is, and a red squirrel pops out from behind the tree. I didn't capture it very well because it was on my phone rather than my DSLR. I just had to whip something out. But that was just impeccable timing. This landscape, there are not the words in the English language to describe how much it inspires me. I am just completely head over heels in love right now. Just headed underneath the railway line, which has got this incredible bridge, almost like a viaduct, with these cool arches. And then there's the A82 that we could hear just further on. I think we've got to join it for a little bit. Cool little bridge.
The railway was part of the West Highland Line, voted as the top rail journey in the world in 2009, with the Glenfinnan Viaduct used as the filming location for the Hogwarts Express in the Harry Potter film series.
It's pretty busy. Hopefully we can get across. Ready? Ready? Go! Woo, we survived. The River Fillion. Look at that. That's our biggest river yet, I think. The Kinlochleven Hills. We've got Benmore, Stob Benin, and Cruch Ardrain over there somewhere. Can't see them today, unfortunately. We're just at the site of the remains of the Fillion Priory. He was a 7th century evangelist who came over from Ireland to try and convert the Scots to Christianity, and is literally just tucked away here in this glade of trees. And we got some graves there actually. They must be associated with it, but it's quite a mysterious place.
The remains of the priory actually date back to the 13th century, when Robert the Bruce endowed the priory in 1713. He was a strong believer in the cult of St Fillion, and even took a holy relic to battle with him in 1314. The building itself must have been quite a sight at 50 metres long, and many miracles are associated with St Fillion, such as the nearby holy pool, which is said to cure insanity. The Kirkton graveyard contains burials dating back mostly to the 18th century, but some even earlier, which have Latin crosses inscribed on them. It's a really atmospheric place.
How brilliant is this? Gatepost, and there's a rowan growing out of it. Amazing. Ah, yes. It's our first Highland cows. Look at them all.
Highland cattle, in my opinion, are the most attractive and lovely of cattle breeds. Their long horns and shaggy coats make them easy to distinguish, and they have an interesting history, originating in the Highlands and Outer Hebrides, first mentioned in records from the 6th century AD.
Look at this verge here. There's so many different flowers. We've got thrifts, we've got tormentils, we've got the heathers, we've got the harebells, we've got the bracken. It's just alive with colour. Tindrum Community Woodland. This woodland belongs to the community of Tindrum. I don't know if it's Tindrum or Tindrum. Either way, we're in the woods. We are very happy for you to use it, but please treat it with respect. In particular, take care not to start any fires. Definitely. We can see some of the wildlife here. Dippers, we can see them on the water. Black grouse, maybe some meadow pipits, golden ring dragonflies. Oh, amazing. And then we've got here, lead ore. The bare area is where lead ore was brought down from the mines in the hills above Tindrum and crushed and smelted. The ingots were then taken by pack horse to Alua, 50 miles away. Gosh, that's a long way. The Battle of Dalry. Clan MacDougall and Robert the Bruce were allies during the Wars of Independence in 1296. When Robert the Bruce murdered the nephew of the clan chief in 1306, they became enemies. And then there was a battle during the summer of 1306. Caught by surprise, the battle was a short, frantic engagement, with the last of the Bruce's horsemen killed and several of his key allies injured. Afterwards, Robert the Bruce went into hiding. Then 2 years later, he went on to defeat the MacDougalls at the Battle of the Pass of the Brenda. I'm loving all these billboards. There's another one here that says the Lochs of the Lost Sword. The legend: after he was beaten at Dalry, Robert the Bruce and his army threw their weapons into the small lochs. This included Robert the Bruce's longsword called Claymore, and local legends suggest it still lies here to this day. Just come out into this clearing here and it looks industrial. I reckon this is the old site of the lead smelting. Nothing's grown here for over 150 years. Whew, look at that. It's barren.
Lead mining really kicked off in Scotland from 1550, when mining companies and businessmen set out looking for new opportunities. Unlike the coal mines, though, which forced the poor and criminals to work, lead mining was a much more official process, with hired men travelling from around the UK to come and work. It was a dangerous job, though, involving exposure to great blast from gunpowder and breathing in of poisonous powder. After 1820, however, the availability of cheap lead from Spain pushed the industry in Scotland into decline, but evidence of these mines remain all around.
How do we get across here? Oh man. Steady. Steady. Good. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's how.
In Gaelic, the name Tindrum means house on the ridge, and it's a popular tourist stop with many campsites and bunkhouses. The village is actually built over the battlefield where Clan MacDougall defeated Robert the Bruce in AD 1306, though I was aware of none of this as I dried my feet and scoffed some grub.
Alright, that was really good. I stopped properly, I ate food, quite a lot of food. I've drunk water, got some more water, and we're ready to move on to the next 7 miles to the Bridge of Orchy. Also, these are quite cool. Oh, I'm so full I can hardly move. So we got the road, the railway, the river, and the path. Not bad for one glen.
Well fueled, I found a new energy in my step as I marched along the old military road. I knew that in bad weather this stretch might have been exposed, but on the day I was walking, the atmosphere was blissful and the views even better.
Slight diversion off path. I can feel a blister or something forming on the top of my foot, so I'm going to just stop now and sort that one out whilst I can. Oh, not too bad. It's a sore. I need to put something on that, cover it over, stop the friction. You can see how wet my feet have been. They're filthy as well. I've got a lot of different options for what I can put on it. I think for now I'm just going to stick with a traditional blister plaster and hope for the best. Just got to get to the bridge of Orchy. There we go. Hopefully that will stay in place for the next 6-7 miles. Beautiful. And we're on the move again. Underneath the railway from the looks of it. Oh, whoa.
In front of me, Ben's rain dominated the skyline, whilst to my right, the railway ran over 2 spectacular steel viaducts.
This is a private mountaineering hut. I did not know that, I just read that. You know, the straight track is so simple, you don't need to navigate, you just need to walk. And so it's a great time to think. And I've kind of been mulling over what has the way taught me so far. When I come on these trails, I always learn something about myself, about the landscape that I'm walking through. And I feel like actually this time, I've just been reminded and encouraged actually that it's okay to be me. I don't need to be anybody else. I don't need to prove anything. I don't need to perform. I just need to come out here and do what I do best. To journey day to day from A to B, to be open to what comes and just to thrive. And this is where I can be the best that I can be. I'm not in competition with anybody except myself. And even then, I don't want to be in competition with myself. I want to be in harmony with myself, just as I am with the land that I'm walking through. And you know, I suppose to people it looks like we come out here and we walk and we get up and we walk and we eat and we sleep and we walk again, but it's more than that. It takes a certain degree of self-sufficiency to be able to look after yourself through all weather conditions. Where can you get food and water and shelter? The aches and pains that you get, how can you handle those? You have to have a partnership between your mind and your body, otherwise you're just not going to make it. And this just seems to be where I come alive. I can manage it, I can take on the day-to-day issues, the problem-solving things. I can just manage, and that is a good thing. Just because I'm taking the road less walked, sometimes it's lonely, but look at the things I get to see, and this is okay. And that's what the way is teaching me so far. It's just helping me to fall in love with backpacking all over again. It's reminding me why I do what I do, and I just want to encourage you guys, just as the way has encouraged me, be the best that you can be. Whatever it is that brings you to life, go out and do it. Chase those goals, make those dreams happen. There's no point talking about it unless you've got to. Problem solving and logistics and all that. But make sure they happen. You know, this is our life. This is what we get. And the only way you can make an impact is by being the best that you can be. So go out and do. Be a doer and be a good beer. Be a beer of you. As you can see, I just feel really free. And this is what I love, freedom. And Scotland is the land of freedom. Is that not true? Basically, every time I turn the camera off, these just come out. Behind the scenes right now. Oatcakes, that's about it.
It wasn't long before I reached the outskirts of the village, first checking out the disused railway station, now a renovated bunkhouse. It was a curious place with the train line still active, but potentially a good place to stop if you've been drenched and you need somewhere to dry out. Just down the road is the notable tourist hotel dating back to 1751. It's an expensive place for the humble backpacker, but if you're craving a bit of luxury, you can't go wrong here. On the other side of the 18th century bridge is an official wild camping spot. It's an idyllic place once the tourists have passed through, though the midges get pretty bad.
I want to try and wash my feet. This could be painfully cold.
feeling refreshed, I headed to bed, lulled into a restful slumber by the sound of the river Orchy.
Good morning. As you can see, the smidge net has come out. The midges are really thick by the bridge of Orchy there. The only downside to camping there pretty much, which is not as bad as you think really. We'll take off in a minute. I've actually got it on because it's keeping me warm. It's really cold. As you can see, the cloud base has come right down. We've not got the views we had yesterday. Today's a long day. I've got 22 miles to go all the way to Kinlochleven, so it's the penultimate day on the trail. We got some big sort of passes, we got Rannoch Moor, we got lots going on today, and I'm quite keen to get some miles under my belt. So I've stopped because I've just got this little flood here and I want to make sure I'm giving myself full attention to crossing it as best as possible. It is so quiet, I'm almost scared to speak. We're about to head up into the cloud. I don't know how much higher we go, but I can see it's just there. I just can't get over how quiet it is. So I've been walking for about an hour and I'm just coming down this ridge here and I can see the faint outline. I'm pretty sure it's Loch Chula, so that means Inverarnan, which is like basically another hotel, is just there. I think that's a road. It's just that is a different shade of grey, which would make sense. So we'll see. We don't go near to the loch, but it's quite cool to be able to see the faint outline. The midges are really on one today. As soon as I stop, they're like, boom, get her! So I'm trying not to stop. But I think there's a water tap at this hotel, which I'm intending on filling up on my stuff to see me through today.
The Inverarnan Hotel dates back to 1708 and has been visited by numerous notable individuals, such as Dorothy Wordsworth in 1803. Although, apparently, she wasn't a fan of the food, but I'm pretty sure ownership has changed since then. A little further on was a lovely wild camping spot, but it sure looked midgy and was certainly much busier than at the bridge of Orchy.
West Highland Way, the Drove Road to Glencoe. Before the end of the 18th century, the military roads in the Highlands were falling into a state of disrepair, which made them unsuitable for the increasing commercial traffic. I was commissioned in 1803 by the government to build new roads and bridges in the Highlands. They're designed with gentle gradients, being lower on the hillside, and have larger bridges across the burns. For the general well-being and value of the cattle and sheep being driven to the market, I insist that the road is constructed with a good depth of gravel to prevent damage to their hooves. The road went out to the use of the main public road in 1933, but is still in good condition today. It has been maintained for the estate access and the West Highland Way. Look at this weather! I mean, sure, the midges are coming out because of it, but blue sky! It's amazing. It's taking quite a while, but the cloud is definitely rising. The sun's trying to break through and it's illuminating everything with wonderful colour. Ah, good old Scotland. I think that might be a mountain in front of us. You can see the scree slopes now just starting to appear.
Without realising, I'd made my way out onto Rannoch Moor, one of the last remaining wildernesses in Europe of around 50 square miles. The surrounding mountains and moorlands were of a scale I'd never before experienced, and as the cloud continued to rise, I was transported into a world that simply set my soul on fire.
can just see a few deer over there. I think there's 3. They're a bit far away, but they're clearly trying to keep the shelter of the trees. It really is fantastic to now be able to see where I'm walking through, and it's so obvious to me that this is a glacial landscape with all the little hillocks everywhere left behind as the glaciers scraped along that sediment and deposited it in these mounds. It's pretty incredible here. It's so still, and as far as I can see it's just mountains and moorland.
The moor is designated as a site of special scientific interest and a special area of conservation. Much of the western part of the moor lies within the Ben Nevis and Glencoe National Scenic Areas, one of 40 such areas in Scotland in which certain forms of development are thankfully restricted.
Big old erratic there, a boulder left behind by the glacier. Seen quite a few of those today. Pretty much all morning we've been climbing with a steady ascent, and what we're doing is we're working our way up to, I think it's about 445 metres over this pass above sea level, and then we'll descend down towards the edge of Glencoe and the King's House Hotel, which is kind of at the convergence point between Glenative and Glencoe, and it's looked over by the Great Herdsman, the mountain that you'll be able to see pretty soon. It's some pretty spectacular landscape, and actually we're just round in the corner, so pretty soon we'll be leaving this pass behind. I have to admit it was a real surprise. I doubted the weather this morning, and how wrong was I. That looks like a pretty obvious trig point, don't you think? Just standing tall up there. I reckon that's that highest point, 445 metres above sea level. And actually, the mountains are just appearing on the horizon in front of us. Game on! I can see the chairlift here to my left for the Glencoe ski resort, and I just thought, I think there's a cafe there. I might go and have a look because I've made it here with really good time. It's not even 12 o'clock yet, so I thought that I'd get a drink there and then press on for the last sort of 8-9 miles to Kinlochleven over Devil's Staircase, which is the highest point and the steepest climb on the way. So we'll check that out once we've got a fresh brew in us. Leaving the way, on to the cafe.
Originally known as White Corries, Glencoe was the first commercial Scottish ski area, with the first overhead ski lift opening in 1956 for around £5,000. The resort is currently home to some of Scotland's largest and steepest skiing slopes and is used by thousands each year.
King's House Hotel, Blackrock Cottage, here we go, ski centre, so West Highland Way. We've just come all the way through here and we'll hit King's House Hotel. We'll go along the old military road until we get to Devil's Staircase and then go all the way across to Kinlochleven today. This is a cool map. This is a little bit ridiculous, but I'm gonna go on the chairlift. I just want to sit on it all the way up and then all the way back down, and then we'll finish our walk for today. I just thought it would be fun. Yeah.
Sit down and just keep your feet up 2 feet in.
Alright. Oh, well that was simple. And we're off.
It was utterly thrilling to just sit back and watch as mountain bikers shredded trails below and pass over tumbling falls. I couldn't help but imagine what the land would look like in the depths of winter, and wondered if I'd be back once the snows had fallen. Much to the amusement of the chap at the top, I didn't get off, simply went back down the way I'd come with breathtaking views all the way.
Actually, you know, it's up here that you can really appreciate the vastness of this landscape. I mean, this moor just stretches on as far as the eye can see, and then right on the horizon there's mountain after mountain after mountain, and there's all these little lochs and bodies of water. You know, if there's a landscape that I feel like I belong in, it's this kind of landscape. I just feel at home here. I feel free, and I just feel like I belong. It's the best feeling in the world.
I felt so much childlike joy I just couldn't contain it, with my legs dangling over the low shrubs below, grinning merrily to others as they passed by on the lift. It was a real highlight of my journey.
And we're coming into land. That was good fun, but I think it's time I put my backpack on and do what I do best. Let's get hiking. We can just follow this road, which is quite cool, down towards the A82. We'll cross over, reach the King's House Hotel, and then hit the trail on the other side. That's the plan. And we've got the Black Rock cottages here, which are pretty famous just because they're just cool.
The famous climbing hut was instantly recognisable, sitting proudly in front of the great herdsman of Abbie.
Wow, that was easy.
The remote King's House Hotel was under construction as I passed by, but it wasn't many months later that the restorations were completed. Said to be one of Scotland's oldest licensed inns, it was originally built in the 18th century for travellers moving across Rannoch Moor.
Hello, I am the innkeeper, Donald McInnes. I was encouraged to take on the King's House in early 1770s after a distinguished career in the King George's army. But making a living here has proved a lot more difficult than I had led to believe. Recently I've had to resort to the illegal trade in whiskey and salt. How else can a man make a living in this godforsaken place? Bless. Tough stuff. Literally just turned around and the deer are there. I remember there being deer here before, and I got to feed one. Some like bread or something that was left over. The guys here took me out and showed me how to feed them. They're such beautiful animals, they really are. And I love the fact that they're literally there just 50 meters away from me. Stunning.
The deer are a major attraction in the area, but it's important to remember they are still wild animals and should only be viewed from a distance. It really was lovely though to just be able to pause and watch as they felt so at home in the moors.
Do you think that's a big enough sign? The West Highland Way. Wonder which way it is. Never forget the importance of looking back. Check that out. And so it begins. A 200-meter ascent up to 548 meters above sea level. The highest point on the trail. Let's do this. Honestly, I don't think this should be called the Devil's Staircase. It's really lovely, and I know it could be exposed in bad weather, but we've got this stream running alongside, the mountains behind me, and I can see the trail zigzagging or switchbacking all the way up to the top. It's pretty epic.
The pass was actually named by the soldiers who were part of the road building programme under General Wade in the 1700s, because of the difficulty in carrying building materials around. It was arduous work that took place in the summer months, with encampments established every 10 miles. The inns which developed around the works became known as King's Houses, hence the King's House Hotel, which I just passed by.
1 mile of ascent later, and we're at the top, 548 metres above sea level. Awesome. And the path continues on up there, and we're not going that way today, we're going straight on. I can see the track winding its way down through the valley to Kinlochleven, and those mountains are just something else.
The mountains ahead of me were the moors, with Ben Nevis rising behind. To the east was the 8-mile-long Blackwater Reservoir, created in the early 1900s to supply water to power the hydroelectric plant at the new aluminium smelter in the purpose-built village of Kinlochleven.
Stepping stones. These look fun. This is a pretty fast trail, 4.5 miles all the way to Kinlochleven from the top of Devil's Stairway, and it's pretty much all downhill. Suits me just fine.
It certainly was a speedy descent down to sea level at Kinlochleven, but I made sure to slow my pace and savour the lands around me. I soon picked up the infamous water pipes and followed them down past other waterworks into town, which was the first village in the world to have every house powered by electricity following the development of the HEP scheme for the aluminium smelter.
Here we are then, we're just approaching the outskirts of Kinlochleven, 22 miles away from the bridge of Orchy. I can tell you I'm pretty glad to be here now. It's gone 6 o'clock in the evening, so I've been awake for over 12 hours and on the trail for over 11 so far. It's just such an industrial entrance to the town, to be honest, coming past these pipes, and we got the generator station here.
Crossing over the River Leven, I spent some time reading up about the brown trout, sea trout and Atlantic salmon that use the river throughout the year. It seemed the town was proud of its association with the wild and untamed migration of the fish each autumn, and rightly so. The Aluminium Story Museum is a great place to check out to discover more about the town and its construction around the aluminium smelting. In its early days, the plant actually employed over 700 people. I didn't stop for too long though, keen to top up on scoff at the town's co-op.
Okay, I've got quite a few supplies. I went a bit OTT, but I really wanted some yogurt. I got some milk so I can make a brew, and just a sandwich and some food for tomorrow. So that's good, I'm happy with that. So now all that's left to do is to find the campsite, get my tent out and sleep.
That night I stayed at the McDonald Hotel campsite. It was a small place but friendly enough, and I sat enjoying views over the loch until it got dark.
Today is our final day on the West Highland Way. We're leaving Kinlochleven behind, and we've got about 15 miles between us and Fort William at the end of the trail. I've checked the forecast and this morning is looking okay. This afternoon there's showers and stuff that's supposed to come in. So we'll just work on our progress today, and then we can probably stay nice and dry, which would be great. It was beautiful last night. I had to go out to the toilet and the stars, oh gosh, the stars, they were just dazzling, and so I'm kind of still buzzing from that experience. We're ready to go. Let's get some miles in. This is a really lovely climb, actually, up the side of the mountain. I think we're working towards another sort of military or drover's track, but I just keep looking back. The views over Kinlochleven and the loch, it's really lovely. What a beautiful place to live. This is quite a big track they've made in the land, and there's another one that's running up and down the mountainside there with some digger scraping away. You can hear it even from this distance.
The work was the construction of a new hydro development scheme and pipe-laying operations. Whilst I knew it would help the communities to live more sustainable lifestyles, I just felt a bit sad to see the damage to the wild lands around the trail.
It's nice to be away from those machines. The sound was actually carrying quite a long way, so they've only really just escaped the noise, and it's been replaced by complete stillness. You get the occasional sound of the waterfalls that you walk past and nothing else. You know, sometimes silence can be very loud.
The so-called Great Pass was served by another old military road, making for trouble-free walking, occasionally passing by old derelict farm buildings, a sign of times long since past.
It's been quite wet underfoot actually. Lots of the little rivers sort of cross the path, kind of like this one, and you just kind of like have to hop across as best you can. We've got this coniferous forest here, and on my Harvey's map it shows it as extending up the mountainside, but you can see it's been clear felled, so they've chopped down all the trees, I guess for timber or something. So it's amazing how things change quite quickly, and obviously we don't have those like Harry Potter maps, so we can't track the changes as they're happening. You are here, so we're going to head up and along all the way into Ben Nevis, past the campsite, that's where I'll be staying, and then into Fort William and the end. Actually, this is quite good because this shows that if the weather is really bad, you could follow the public road all the way to Fort William, and it says that that's 4.5 miles. We've got about 7.5 miles to go on towards Fort William, so that's quite good to be able to see that actually. Flip. That is colossal. I rounded the corner and I can see the slopes of Ben Nevis. The summit's obviously in the cloud, as most of the highest peaks are today. But that is just a sheer mass of rock. How do I sum that up in words? I don't know if it's humanly possible. That is just ginormous. Biggest mountain in the UK. Wow. This wood was created as part of the Centenary Woods project to commemorate all those involved in the First World War. Amazing.
I found that as I pressed on towards Ben Nevis, I was feeling slightly nervous, simply because I didn't feel ready for the trail to end. I knew I still had a few miles to go ahead of me, and sure, I felt weary, but my heart was so intrinsically absorbed in the lands around me that I feared the conclusion of the way. The flowers and the mountains and the moors and the forests had truly captivated me like never before.
That's a really good sign. It just explains why they've left the forest in this way. It says, mosses, fungi and lichens all feed on decaying wood. Insects also live in dead wood, which in turn feed other birds and animals. We're trying to make our forest more natural. That's why we're leaving a little more decaying wood behind. Dead wood equals food for the forest. Awesome. We're working our way over the pass through the forest, or what remains of it, to Ben Nevis, and I think we're just going over the top now. Looks like we're getting closer to Ben Nevis with every step. Dunderdale, a desirable residence in Ben Nevis. We think Dunderdale Fort was built around 2,000 years ago, so it's Iron Age. It may have been occupied or rebuilt on several occasions through time, from Celtic fort to Pictish citadel. Imagine the people who lived here, their colourful flags and banners proclaiming the power of the tribe to which they belonged. The fort dominates the glen, a natural stronghold with amazing views. Oh, I'm such a sucker for archaeology. Look at that. It's a scheduled ancient monument and is protected by law. Good, so it should be.
I pressed on into Glen Nevis, with Ben Nevis rising high above me to my right. I didn't feel at all intimidated by its presence, only comforted, and in some ways encouraged, as though the mountain was congratulating me on having made it this far.
Here we go, that was pretty straightforward really. So this is the cow circuit following the yellow sign. This is the Braveheart car park, so lots of people park here just to head up towards the hill fort that we passed. And I think I have actually made a decision, which is something for me. I am going to go down to the road, I'm going to rejoin the official route, and I'm going to walk that mile and a half of road walking to the official end. I want to go past the old end because I've realised how important it is to me actually to retrace my steps from 2012. I've not kind of figured that until this very point where I've had this option and I've been like, actually I want to stick on the main route even if it is a busy road. So this is it in terms of scenery. We're about to leave the beauty and head into the industrial world that'll take us into Fort William. So goodbye trees. It's been lovely. Let's get to the end. We've got about 1.5 miles, maybe 2 miles at a push to go. We're going to go past that old end and then we'll hit the new end right in the centre of Fort William. Definitely do that route though. If you're not worried about seeing the old end, definitely do that route. So then, this is the original end of the West Highland Way, and as you can see, it's pretty unglamorous. So in 2010, it was moved into Fort William itself, and that's where we're going to head to in a minute. I remember when we arrived here, we were just soaking wet. It had poured down all day, but there was a real sense of achievement, and then we realised we had another mile to go. So you can get a West Highland Way certificates in this building. It actually feels a little bit surreal to be on the final mile of the West Highland Way. As I said earlier, I really don't feel ready for this to finish. I feel like I've only just started.
Thankfully, there were some interesting buildings to distract me as I made my way into town, such as the imposing granite St Mary's Roman Catholic Church, which was built in the early 1900s and looked oddly castle-like. There was also the Park War Memorial, inscribed with the names of those fallen in the First and Second World Wars and the Gulf War conflicts. My heart raced in anticipation of sighting the end of the trail, though I felt slightly awkward walking into the high street, overwhelmed by the people, buildings and sounds. It was a bittersweet feeling, and I thought I'd be used to it given the number of trails I'd ventured along. My head flashed with fond memories from my time on the trail, and soon I was flooded with a sense of accomplishment as I rounded the corner to the end of the way.
So here it is then folks, the official end of the West Highland Way. We have walked 96 miles from Milngavie across mountain and moorland, rivers and forests, and we've ended up here in Fort William next to the sore feet statue. Feels very appropriate. I have got quite sore feet actually. I'm totally not ready for this journey to end. It has been a fantastic walk and it's really opened my eyes to what it means to thrive as me. I have loved the landscape that I've walked through, and actually it's kind of also revealed to me that if you're looking to get into backpacking, this is a fantastic trail to start on. The way marking couldn't be simpler, the conditions underfoot are nice and solid, there's loads of places to stop, to eat, to rest, to drink, you can't go wrong. So if you've been as inspired as I have by this journey to don your walking boots and spend more time in the wild, maybe the West Highland Way is the right place for you to begin. So folks, thank you for following my journey, and until next time, stay wild.
Though my time on the way had come to an end, I knew I was only halfway through my travels in Scotland, and soon I'd be heading out to walk the Great Glen Way. The trail was cooling, and I was eager to respond.